Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the EFL Grand Finals of the 8th Gwangju Middle School English Debating Championship. My name is Ju Kyung Park, Chair of this Championship Executive Committee and Professor at Honam University. Before we begin today's debate, I'd like to congratulate both teams for coming this far. So please give a round of applause to our grand finalists. Thank you. Well, today we have the motion, this House supports an interdisciplinary curriculum model in secondary education. And without any further ado, I'd like to welcome the Prime Minister to the podium.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow debaters. When you are learning about a pencil, what are the things you can learn? You can learn about the materials of pencils, scientific facts of pencil, and also the way to grab pencil and how to write properly. Learning various informations with some same material is in the interdisciplinary curriculum model. Finland is famous for this education system. It is called the best curriculum in the world. Many countries are trying to apply this system to theirs. With this in mind, the motion before us today is this House supports the interdisciplinary curriculum model in secondary education. I would like to define a key word in this motion. The interdisciplinary curriculum model refers to the education that is learning several subjects' information from same material. As the government team, we agree to the motion that we support the interdisciplinary curriculum model in secondary education. Our team has a total of 3 arguments. First, we can think diversely by the improvement of thinking skills. Second, students can know about the reason of studying. Lastly, by the citizenship quality gets better, bullying can be decreased. I, as the Prime Minister, will present the first and second argument, and the Deputy Prime Minister will give out the rest of the arguments. The whip will point out the clash points of this debate, and lastly, our government reply will summarize the debate. First, we can think diversely by the improvement of thinking skills. In interdisciplinary education, when we are in on class, we are learning not only on single subject, but also learning knowledges of various fields and even social issues like environmental problems too. This model is used in Finland, and there, for example, when we are learning about bicycles, we learn about scientific principles and several transportations, safety information, traffic science, and also separating garbaging. However, in Korea, which is in the stage of applying this model, we have storytelling math problems. We can learn math forms with realistic situations, but there's one thing you have to know. In these storytelling models, numbers in those problems are just imaginary numbers. That means storytelling questions focus on math forms. Realistic situations are just used for setting. In case of this model, in math class, we can learn with the numbers which is related to the historical events or the number from the real life. For example, when there is a number like 1945, we are learning about the independence of Korea in math class. In Korea, some teachers tell about those facts, but usually not. So classes like this will help students to come up with many ideas when they look or think about a material. Also, this can help thinking creatively. Creativity means thinking of a different and new idea. As I said, thinking variously will help thinking differently. Second, students can know about the reason of studying. When you learn about various informations related to a material, we can utilize it in proper situation. As a result, Students can experience more information in various areas. Think about it. Do you think you can learn various fields with definite subjects? I don't think so. There are more chances to encounter more learning with interdisciplinary model. If students realize that the knowledges they learn are useful in areas, that's the way to know the reason to study. Most of my friends in classes, they say, why do we have to learn these? We can live well without these. I've seen so many of those cases, but with this model, those speeches will be reduced. For this reason, we support the interdisciplinary curriculum model in secondary education. Thank you.
Now I'd like to welcome the leader of opposition to the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, as the first speaker of the opposition team, I firstly rebut the previous speaker of the government team and then talk about our team's first two arguments, which is firstly, why in secondary education, students lack the rationality to comprehend this learning, and secondly, this will make some subjects that's hard to be taught with another subjects to be undermined. And our team's second speaker will talk about our team's last argument, which is about ineffectiveness. Before I talk about our team's arguments, I want to first rebut the previous speaker. The previous speaker's first argument was about there will be more abilities that the students and people will get. I think I also agree to this point. However, as I say in my second argument, the secondary education is an education for students who are going to the society, and it is to some kind of make them able to help them to go in a society and to live. So therefore, it is not the time to increase their ability, but to make them to help and more adapt better in the society. So therefore, their argument is not really related to the topic. And secondly, their second argument was about the students can know the reason why they learn. However, because as I talked about in my first argument, most of the students will not know about some kind of each subjects because they're already some kind of preparing some kind of not mixed education, but just different educations. So therefore, every student will be unable to know each and all the subjects what it is mixed. So therefore, they will not really be able to understand the thing what they learn. So therefore, they wouldn't know the real reason why they learned. And now I'll go on my arguments. My first argument is why in secondary education, students lack the rationality to comprehend this learning. Children are irrational and lack experience, and that's why we are learning things to begin with. And also to do the proper disciplinary learning, everybody should know each subject very well. However, as I said in the rebuttals, most of the students are unable to know both of the subjects because they are preparing for the non-mixed education at the future. So therefore, because whatever they do with this some kind of mixed educations, it will only make students to be not able to understand. And secondly, this can undermine subjects that's hard to be taught with other subjects. I want to first talk about some kind of subjects that are very hard to taught with other things. For example, morality and ethics is some kind of subject that cannot be mixed with others. We cannot do this with math or some kind of English or nothing. And then if we do this some kind of mixing education, then many people will think that this is not important, because if we do this mixing things, then this morality and ethics subject will be not really be in the book that the students are learning. So therefore, everybody will think that it is less important. Secondary school's main role is not only for compatible subjects, but they also has to learn every single subject. So therefore, if they are not able to understand every subject and can some kind of undermine some kind of subjects, then it's not doing the right role as an education, and it's some kind of it'll be not important education. So therefore, for conclusion, my first argument was why in secondary education students lack the rationality to comprehend this learning, and secondly, this undermines subjects that's hard to be taught with other subjects. For these reasons, I'm proud to oppose. Thank you.
Now I'd like to welcome the Deputy Prime Minister to the podium.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and fellow debaters. We are debating on the motion, this House supports the interdisciplinary curriculum model in secondary education, and we, the government, highly supports it. As the Deputy Prime Minister, I will first rebut the arguments given by the Leader of Opposition, and then rebut the rebuttal of the Leader of Opposition, and then proceed with our third argument. I would like to rebut the opposition's argument, which was that secondary students will be lack of comprehension. But we think that this curriculum is good, so maybe now they can be lack of comprehension, but they can advance gradually, so we have to watch them more develop gradually. So I think it will be more important. And their second argument was that there are some hard to mix with other subjects, so we can divide some subjects. But we believe that if we mix the subject, even though it's hard to mix, we will know that all subjects were connected by one, so we will more understand some subjects much when we impose this curriculum. And also, the Leader of Opposition rebutted to our first argument, which was that they can think various thinkings and have interest in studying. He said that since the motion is secondary education, so we have to help them adapt better in society, not just making to think various thinkings. But we believe that to help the students adapt better in society is society's best time is when we are in high school, because in high school we have to learn that what career is right for me and what I'm doing the best thing. I think in secondary education it is right for the teachers and it is right for the government to make them think various thinkings and have interest in studying. And also, our second argument was that by knowing why they are studying, they don't feel limitation in our knowledge. The Leader of Opposition rebutted that then they will be unable to know what they learn because they are already preparing for the non-mixed education. But as I rebutted before, I think that high school is the term where we have to prepare, and I think the students in secondary education didn't prepare much than high schoolers, so the secondary education is proper for this curriculum. And also we said that we don't feel the limitation in knowledge, so I think it wasn't a very good rebuttal. Now I would like to proceed with our third argument. which was that we can solve the outcast and bullying problem along with the high citizenship. Citizenship refers to a person's common lifestyle or those as a member of city and nation. Why does the citizenship get high with the solve of bullying? Nowadays, Finland's another name is Education Advanced Country. However, in the past, Finland's another name was Bully Republic. There is a statistic report about 5 to 15% of students got bullied permanently between 1990 and 2000 in the Finland. Finland government had a conclusion of reason of bullying was that Finland is a homogeneous nation. And we, the government, believes that it's same or similar as Korea. As Korea is a homogeneous nation too, and we also have a severe bullying problem. Anyway, to solve this problem, Finland imposed Kiva Koulu project. Kiva is a good in Finland language and Koulu means school. By this program, students learn about how to act when they see or get bullying, and you never have to bully someone. Thanks to this program, bullying in Finland really decreased. It's related to our motion, the interdisciplinary curriculum model, because by that curriculum, school could put this program more freely than when they had classes with subjects like us now in Korea. The students get 20 hours every 9 years. Programs include watching and making bullying drama, discussing about bullying. There is also playing a computer game related to bullying too. By this, students can advance their understanding in bullying and knows that they never have to bully someone or see someone bullied quietly. So, by Kiva Koulu project, students' thought will change that bullying is a really bad thing and we must not do it. It will settle as one of the citizenship, and this citizenship can be classified as a very high and good citizenship. Maybe these are the reasons why Finland is ranking place of the most happiest country in the world. If Korea imposed this, we, the government, believe that we can be like Finland. No bullying, high citizenship, and happy citizens. Thank you.
Now I'd like to welcome the Deputy Leader of Opposition to the podium.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, fellow debaters. As the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, I would like to first rebut to the previous speaker, which is the Deputy Prime Minister. The Deputy Prime Minister rebutted to our Leader of the Opposition, saying that mixing the subjects, which is an interdisciplinary education, can actually make students understand better. However, we believe that this is not a good idea to make students understand better. Since if there are students that are most irrational in middle school ages, and in middle school age we have to take the primary education. However, since they are in the time of puberty and they are irrational, they don't listen to that education that much. Therefore, they cannot understand the original education in school. Right now, high school is better. However, if you mix those subjects that they don't even know right now, then it will be more complicated than before. Also, she rebutted that high school is the most important. High school is the most important part of our life to get education. Yes, we believe that is right too. However, we do not believe that interdisciplinary education is the right education to give them in high school, since there are actually most people are actually adapted to the individual subjects and individual education. Therefore, we believe that adapting to a whole new level of education will actually harm those students and the students' grade. Also, she said that, oh yes, okay. Now I would like to go into my argument. My argument is about that interdisciplinary learning can actually be very ineffective. First, I would like to briefly combine my argument with the Leader of the Opposition's argument. Students lack the ability to understand the learnings if they combine subjects, since they don't even know the subjects properly they are learning right now. Also, so secondary subjects are actually usually a upper grade level of what we learn in middle school right now. And if they provide a mixture of two hard subjects,
then they can't understand, which can actually harm and degrade the purpose of learning, and it won't be effective enough. It's particularly hard to realize this program since, like we said, there are many subjects that cannot be combined, such as ethics and PE, for example. These two are nearly impossible to mix.
POI, sir.
No, thank you. Not only that, but there are also teachers that conflict between whether we should use this program or not, since they also know that it is unfair to the students that are already used to the education before, which most students are actually used to it. My second analysis is that if you combine the subjects and make new subjects, then there will be new programs created. Then why is it wrong? The schools should make new facilities to study these subjects, new curriculums, new programs, new teachers, etc. However, schools lack the financial support to make these programs well and actually hire good teachers, good quality teachers. They even lack the financial support right now to give good quality education, but how can they actually give a mixture of education that is a good quality? For example, many schools like innovative schools, also known as 혁신학교, they attempt to use these kind of methods to give the students a good education. However, they almost fail every time. Plus, there are many private high schools that were established by a private corporation or an individual or funded by a corporation. Like private companies, their main purpose is money. They prioritize money, therefore, they care more about money than students' education. Therefore, if they know that these kinds of programs harm their profit and harm their income, then they will give less quality education to these students. Mr. Madam Speaker, we are not trying to give a good quality education, but we are actually fearing that the students might actually get a lower grade of education. Therefore, we are proud to oppose. Thank you for listening.
Now I'd like to welcome the government whip to the podium.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow debaters. And thank you, Deputy Leader Opposition, for his speech. Let's briefly summarize this debate as a whole. We have been debating on the motion, this House supports an interdisciplinary curriculum model in secondary education. We, the government, side highly supports and has given 3 arguments on it. Number 1, by improving thinking skills, they can think various thinkings and have interest in studying. Number 2, by knowing why they're studying, they don't feel limitation in knowledge. Number 3, by higher citizenship, it can solve bullying problems. As the government whip, I'll first rebut the arguments given by the opposition team and then explain the clashes about this debate. The opposition side said that it is not a time to grow abilities and it is a time to adapt better in the society. But the government teams think that secondary education is a time to grow abilities and adapt better in the social together. But they went to kindergartens and elementary schools, and it teaches basic studies. And I want to ask why this secondary education is an early time to grow abilities. I don't really understand the opposition's arguments. And one more question. What about making the students widen more thinkings and preparing to go to social? And I think it's more effective, and I want to ask the opposition about their question. And the opposition team also said that it lacks contents and have to use much money. But as the Deputy Prime Minister already said, this is the things that the Republic of Korea must change. To make the students more happy and to make the social more better. To do these things, we must make more professional teachers and to make more contests, and I think it's one of the process of it. And of the
Point of
opposition.
information.
No, thanks, sir. The opposition teams also said that they don't understand what they learn and they don't know the reason why they learn this, but this helps to learn more by unifying various subjects with matches the type of studying. So it is not a good argument of the opposition team. And with this in mind, I'll explain 2 reasons of why we, the government, have taken the debate home. Number 1, I'll have the clashes, sorry. Number 1, definition of secondary education. Our government team said that we define to an education students learn in middle school and an forward-looking education which learns surpass to basic skills. But the opposition team said that it defined to an education that is right to adapt better in the society, but too early to grow abilities. But in this point, but we rebut about the secondary education students over through kindergarten and elementary schools. So we got this debate on. And number 2, the mixed subject effect. We, the government, thought that it is a chance to develop more and it can encourage students. But the opposition side said that it disagrees about it. But by the success of Finland, it helps students to learn more. So I think we took the debate on. And due to these reasons, we are proud to propose.
Now I'd like to welcome the opposition whip to the podium.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the government opposition whip, and I would like to start with my rebuttal before I go into my clashes. Firstly, about the government team's first argument, they have mentioned that since there is not only a single subject, students will be able to think diversely. However, about this, since it is not a single subject, our team thinks that students can get more confused about this, and I will fully elaborate this in my class. And also, I just want to point out that they have given an example of storytelling, but and they said that Koreans' storytelling problems are only focusing on numbers, which are not really happening at reality. So I just wanted to point out that there are many problems that are related to art, history, or music. So I think they gave a wrong example. And secondly, about their second argument, they told us that students will be able to utilize their knowledge in their proper situation, which they can learn that everything is linked together. However, our team thinks that students without basic knowledge can think diversely. Also, if there's a fully basic knowledge that they have yet students will be overwhelmed to utilize all of those knowledges and solve those problems. And I don't think our team doesn't think that this is an actual purpose of studying and teaching. And also, I want to talk about citizens. Citizenship is going to the quality of the citizenship will increase. This will be fully again elaborated in my class. And they talked about, our team said that there will be lack of new facilities and for students, so the budget will increase, and since we have limitation, we won't be able to provide this kind of education. However, they told us that this is a problem of the Korean society, and this is what we have to solve in order to make students happy. However, then our team wants to question them that if there is a problem in the interdisciplinary teaching, then why don't they just solve that problem first and then do this kind of education to students to be more effective. And lastly, this is the last rebuttal. They talked about that high school is the best place and time for students to have this kind of education, since they are getting used to the society in that part of time, and they will be more thoughtful since they are a little bit more mature than the middle school students. But I want to point out that the reality in this Korean society, the high school students are actually preparing for the Korean SAT, and from that, they won't have really many time for them to adapt this new education to themselves, and also the time and effort that them and their parents have put in for the Korean SAT would be all useless. So is this really effective for them? I want to question it to them. And to move on to my class, my first and only class is about the effectiveness, or we can call it advantages and disadvantages. So the government team told us they have been keep telling us that thinking diversely is the effectiveness and the advantage of this education. But however, they told that since it is not a single subject and it is having all of the subject in one kind of knowledge, students will be able to think diversely. However, our team thinks that students will be more confused. Studying means that from the basic knowledge, we are going to elaborate that knowledge and trying to solve a problem with that knowledge. However, if there is so much knowledge given to students and trying to elaborate that and solve problem, they can be more confused since they are not mature as adults are. And from this, the knowledge that they have earned, the basic one or the elaborate one, whatever, would be all useless. And to see this in a long term, the citizenship of the citizens will decrease. So this is not really an effective education for students to do. And our team has lots of disadvantages, and to point out is that children are irrational and not mature. They are not enough to think about the good and bads, or they are not ready to hold all of the knowledge they are getting in the school. Even that the middle school and high school students in now status quo in Korean are having a hard time to get a good score in a society which has a single subject. But how can they get more adapted in the education that gives too much knowledge to them? This is nonsense. So students are not mature enough to think about this. And there will be confusion for students who are having an nowadays curriculum. They have studied everything for nowadays, but they won't be able to use that in their society. So there are some disadvantages such as this. Thank you.
Now I'd like to welcome the opposition reply to the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen and the fellow debaters, I am the last speech of the side opposition, and I am the reply speech. At the end of the day, we should consider some factors of how we should decide which one in this debate, and I will provide to you the factors of why we won. But first, let's think about this. In this society, everybody cares about their education. However, as they go on to puberty, and since they're irrational, they don't listen to their education and their studies in school. And how can they learn in high school if they actually provide a more complex program in the high school? Not only that, but there are students that right now preparing for Korean SAT, which is 수능 in our language. When students are preparing for 수능, they don't even have the time to enjoy their hobbies or study for their interests. But the side government is keep trying to make their studies less effective. Therefore, this can actually make students fail in those kind of tests. There are some factors we have to consider in this debate. The first factor is the level of engagement. We believe side government lacked in this part due to the fact that they provided the fact of interdisciplinary education, and they can achieve creativity and various thoughts. However, they couldn't actually give the engagement of why this is the only and the best way to achieve creativity, since there are also other many programs we can provide to the students to enhance their creativity. Not only that, but we have to also consider the burden of proof, which I believe that the whip and all the other speakers in side opposition provided to the side government as well. We've proved that the method of interdisciplinary education can harm the purpose of education and harm the students' dream. we wouldn't want that. Even the side government is on this debate due to the fact that they think interdisciplinary education is actually better for the society and the students. However, we believe that our method, we believe that providing interdisciplinary education is not an effective way, and we believe that we believe that it is an ineffective way, and therefore we believe that we should oppose to this debate. Thank you for listening.
Finally, I'd like to welcome the government reply to the podium.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are debating on the motion, this House supports the interdisciplinary curriculum model in secondary education, and we, the government, highly supports it. Our government has given the three motion. First, by this curriculum, they can think various thinkings and have interest in studying. Second, by knowing why they learn, they don't feel limitation in their knowledge. And third, it can solve bullying and we can have high citizenship. Before we say our reasons why we want, I would like to answer for the opposition whip's question. She said that if there is other problem in the interdisciplinary curriculum, we have to solve it first. But I didn't really understand this question because I didn't know the problems what the opposition whip said. And also, they didn't answer to our question that our government whip said. What about widening thinkings and preparing to go to society isn't it more effective? So I think they lose for this argument. And now I would like to proceed the 4 reasons why we want this debate as a whole. Our first reason is that we protected well of our second argument, which was that by knowing why we learn, we don't feel limitation in knowledge. They really didn't rebut to our part of the second argument, which is they don't feel limitation in knowledge. They didn't rebut to this. And also, our second reason is that we protected our third argument well. Our third argument was that solving bullying, and we can solve bullying, and also by that we can have high citizenship. They only rebutted to that we can have high citizenship, but I think it was really weak, and they never rebutted to solving bullying. So I think we protected these 2 arguments well. And the third reason is that we rebutted the opposition's second argument, which is there are some subjects hard to mix with each other, so it'll be confusing. We rebutted to, like, if we mix the subjects, we will know that all subjects are connected to each other, and it'll make a better understand. But they try to rebut our rebut, but they keep said about the same thing with their arguments that is confusing. So we can't impose this curriculum. So I think it wasn't a good rebut. So I think we rebutted their second argument well. And also, our last reason why we want this debate is that they had a basic mistake they had a basic mistake to the motion. They first rebutted to our first argument, what was the students can think various thinkings and have interest in studying. They said to the secondary students is more better to help to adapt it better in society. So we rebutted that helping to adapt better in society, it is more important to high school students. It is important to help the high school students to adapt better in society, not the secondary students. But they misunderstood that we are saying. They understood that we are saying that it is effective to impose this curriculum to high school students, but we said that it is effective to impose this curriculum to secondary students, as the motion says. So, like these 4 reasons, we think we want this debate as a whole. Thank you.
This is the end of the EFL League finals. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me congratulating both teams on their successful debate with a round of applause. Speakers may now cross the floor and shake hands. Okay. Thank you for your outstanding efforts. And I'm really proud of you, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you all become our future leader of Korea and the world. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.